We want to solve 2 cosine 3x plus 1 equals 0 over the interval from 0 to 2 pi radians. It's important to recognize this interval is for the angle x, not the angle 3x. The interval is when x is greater than or equal to 0 radians and less than 2 pi radians. Let's find the interval for the angle 3x. To do this, we multiply everything by 3. 3 times 0 is still 0, so we have 0 less than or equal to 3 times x is 3x, less than 3 times 2 pi is 6 pi. When solving for the angle 3x, we need to solve from 0 to 6 pi radians. And because we have a triple angle here, let's perform a substitution. Let's let u equal 3x. If u is equal to 3x, we can rewrite the original equation as 2 cosine u plus 1 equals 0. We will now solve this equation for u from 0 to 6 pi radians, again because u is 3x, and then we'll come back and find the solutions for just x. To isolate cosine u, we subtract 1 on both sides, and then divide both sides by 2, which gives us cosine u equals negative 1/2. On the unit circle, cosine theta is equal to x, so now we find the points on the unit circle where the x-coordinate is negative 1/2. And we know x is negative in the second quadrant and the third quadrant. Looking at the second quadrant, notice how at this point on the unit circle, the x-coordinate is negative 1/2, which means whenever the terminal side of an angle in standard position intersects the unit circle at this point, the cosine function value is negative 1/2. And we know the initial side is along the positive x-axis, so the first solution in terms of u is this angle here, which is 120 degrees or 2/3 pi radians. So let's go ahead and list u equals 2/3 pi radians. But remember, we're solving this for u from 0 to 6 pi radians, and therefore there are 2 more angles that we can find in this interval that have this side as the terminal side. The next angle would be 1 complete rotation around the unit circle, and then back to this terminal side, which should be this angle here. This would be 2/3 pi radians plus 2 pi radians, and 2/3 pi plus 2 pi is equal to 2/3 pi plus 6/3 pi, which is equal to 8/3 pi. The next angle will be 2 complete rotations around the unit circle, and then back to this terminal side, which should be this angle. 1 rotation, 2 rotations, and then back to this terminal side. This angle is 2/3 pi radians plus 4 pi radians. Adding 4 pi radians is the same as adding 12/3 pi. 2/3 pi plus 12/3 pi is 14/3 pi. If we rotated 3 times around the unit circle and then back to this terminal side, we would be beyond 6 pi radians. So now let's move along to the third quadrant. Notice this point of the unit circle has an x-coordinate of negative 1/2, which means any angle in standard position that has a terminal side that intersects the unit circle at this point has a cosine function value of negative 1/2. So the first angle is this angle here, which is 240 degrees or 4/3 pi radians. Let's go ahead and write this down here. So we have 4/3 pi radians. But there are 2 more angles in this interval that have the same terminal side, or we can say 2 more coterminal angles in this interval. The next one would be 1 rotation around the unit circle, and then back to the same terminal side, which is this angle, which is 4/3 pi radians plus 2 pi radians. And 4/3 pi radians plus 2 pi radians is the same as plus 6/3 pi radians, which is 10/3 pi radians. And the next angle would be 2 rotations around the unit circle, back to the same terminal side, which should be this angle. So 1 rotation, 2 rotations, and then back to the terminal side. This is 4/3 pi radians plus 4 pi radians, or plus 12/3 pi radians, which is equal to 16/3 pi radians. But remember, u is equal to 3x. So if u is equal to 3x and we need to solve for x, we would divide u by 3, which gives us x equals u divided by 3 over 1/3 u, which means to find x, we need to multiply all 6 of these angles by 1/3. So 1/3 times 2/3 pi radians is equal to 2/9 pi radians. 1/3 times 8/3 pi radians is 8/9 pi radians. 1/3 times 14/3 pi radians is 14/9 pi radians. And 1/3 times 4/3 pi is 4/9 pi. 1/3 times 10/3 pi is 10/9 pi. And finally, 1/3 times 16/3 pi is 16/9 pi. So there are 6 values of x that satisfy the given equation over the given interval. I hope you found this helpful.